Hello, friends. And one of the hallmarks I see of people who make their way towards full recovery is that they are devoted and dedicated to the truth. And so I'm going to do a couple videos over the next month or so. It might be 2, it might be 20. I'm not sure how long this series is going to last, but it'll have some connection to it. And so today is going to be about whether you do this with someone in a session that you are building a relationship with, that you're building some safety with to be able to tell your story. Or maybe you're not ready for that and you just tell yourself the story on a piece of paper. Is that it's valuable, if not ultimately necessary you have to tell your story. And it's not a look at all the bad things that people have done to me story or the systems or whatever. It's just like, what's the truth? What makes congruent health? Eating, sleeping, staying off your phone, staying off your phone when you know you don't need to be on there scrolling to disappear and to check out. Moving, not too much, not too little. Working on your nervous system health. What makes all that so important? Or what makes knowing why that's so hard so important? Is because if you don't know what's blocking you, if you don't know the inner conflicts inside of like why you don't do the things that you know are good for you or that would help you grow, whether you're growing your relationship with food, improving body image, dismantling all kinds of old, worn out belief systems that honestly, it worked when you were 10 or you're 15, but it doesn't work as an adult. It just doesn't. It will thwart your ability to see yourself and others in a honest light, be able to have self-compassion and compassion for others while also having good boundaries. We don't have all the truth on board because something in us is still believing that the only way to be okay is to maybe believe in these strategies or believe these lies about yourself that you didn't know they were lies. It just felt that way, but you believe them and they weren't true. And a quick example is, so many of us struggle so much with getting our food needs met because we don't really believe that our needs are important, valuable. Your needs can't get met, at least it's like for food and care and attunement. You can't get the basic needs met unless you're performing in some way. So you will start to believe that, I only get my needs met if I perform. I only get my needs met if I don't cause anybody any trouble, or I don't want to be a burden, or if I have more needs, I'll be abandoned. So we personalize. Remember, when we're younger, we're very egocentric, which means we think everything's about us when we're younger, and that's okay. That's fine. That's just the kind of way human development works. But there comes a time where we grow up and out of that. But to have that happen, you have to have had your needs met. You have to have relational safety and some training up. And most of us who are struggling with food and body image issues don't have that. We live a very survival based way of looking at everything, and that there's that we're not going to be okay if we don't do these certain kind of things. The emotions are going to overwhelm and kill us. The emotions will never end. The weight gain will never end. We have these very catastrophic thoughts and feelings because at the moment they aren't ending and we don't know when they're going to, so we just think they're not. And again, that's our primitive way of thinking. And we have to start telling the story, going back to the story of getting the truth. And you want to remind yourself of the truth every day. Why do I think this way? Why am I delaying my meals? Why am I already planning a binge and it's 10 a.m. in the morning and I'm planning it for when I drive home to work, or I can't wait to get home so I don't so I can just relax and I can check out with the food, or I can't eat the food until I exercise, whatever incongruent with your values way of eating and moving and seeing your body you're doing. Recognize that has a story to it, and it's not something you can probably just white knuckle through. You can do it for a while. You can behavior change only for a while. But if you don't work with the conflicts inside, and you don't understand the story and how that makes sense that that's where we arrived at, all you're going to do is keep beating your head against the wall. You're going to do okay for a while, and then you're going to expect yourself with your adult mind But without the regulation inside and the skill set to hold this new information without feeling like a flood of emotion or whatever, you're going to wonder what's wrong with you. And it's like, actually, if you look into the, like every time you have like this, I'm pushing off meals. So what's the first thing you think in the morning? Well, I got to hurry up and get stuff done. Okay. Is that how you would take care of your children? A guest? Someone else's pet? No, you probably would attune to what the needs are for the day and include that in the things that are maybe according to your values important to give some time to. Because I find that when people aren't very intentional about how they use their time and become, I mean, again, not like every hour scheduled, but some level of like what activities need to get done that are value driven. And if your recovery isn't in that, your time spent in your sessions, your time spent in kind of getting at least a loose kind of like, what are we having for dinner, kind of ready for most days of the week. Especially those of you who are trying to get in an appropriate amount of food, and that's going to be more than everybody else at the beginning because your body has to heal. If that's not being planned for, that's not a part of you that's on board with recovery. That's a part of you that just wants to wing it and hope for the best, or maybe somebody else will provide it, or maybe you won't, that there's still some disembodiment here, that story has to have some airspace to tell. So whether you're sitting with me or someone else that's trained to be able to help you deep and wide open that story to get really clear about what those needs are and meet them directly versus with disembodiment of food, either under or overeating or not making it a priority, or you get a sheet of paper, and if you have the capacity and you don't feel flooded by it, to get that stuff written down yourself and do it regularly so that you can stay in the truth. Like, yeah, you have needs, and you don't get to decide what those calorie needs are. They are what they are, and they have to get met. And when they don't get met, your body physiology is going to protest, and you're probably going to have other parts of yourself too that feel really abandoned and ticked off by just physically not feeling like your needs are going to get met. You matter. You get thrown under the bus at the altar of productivity, or at the altar of what are other people pleasing other people, but not really going to do 75% of the activities you're doing for somebody else. And it's not to say about not taking care of animals and kids and stuff like that. I'm talking like saying yes to things that are just really about you trying to earn something, love, usually from somebody. So that's all I'm going to do today is I want you to think about your story. Think about, notice these conflicts when you know what you need to do. If you know you need to like eat every 3 to 4 hours, if you know that you need to plan ahead to have a good lunch and to like make some arrangements with yourself to actually sit and do it versus just skip it because other things are pulling on you. If it's your body's really crying out to you to like just move even for like 2 minutes, stand up from your desk and stretch, but you're blowing it off because it feels like moving your body is a threat, then what's the story about that? And if that doesn't feel safe to like open up to yourself to tell it, then get somebody else to hold space for you and be a compassionate witness as well, to understand that the more when I move my body, I feel like I don't feel safe. And so it's not because you don't know that movement's good for you. That's your adult self, that some stuff. It's that the other parts of you are like feeling that much maybe movement makes you a target, for whatever reason. Okay, so I hope this starts you off well on this early part of this year here. And again, we're going to do more of these, and I do plan on the next one being about so here's you are kind of telling your story, kind of assessing the conflicts and what is needed. I'm going to talk a lot about the things that most people do not want to do, which is accountability of their food, to make sure that they're eating enough. I'll give a little spoiler here is that I see probably 80-90% of people go slower in their recovery than is necessary because they have a lot of conflicts about being really honest with their food intake, whether from themselves or from others. and not wanting to eat as much as they need to be eating so that they can have competent eating, so they can build their interoceptive awareness, so they can build body trust. Instead, like, let's take the edges off or push meals, and they don't really see that they're doing it, and then they're only upset about it when they feel like a lot of deprivation in eating or binging, and thinking that recovery isn't working. Well, that's not the case. It's just that we still have some deprivation-driven behaviors or mindsets that are driving some of that. So I hope this video is helpful. I know it's a little longer than usual, but I want to set you all up right. And this is for people who maybe have a lot of experience with recovery, but there's some things that just aren't quite clicking or haven't landed quite yet, or there's some little sticky bits. And so let's look into those sticky bits to see what's missing and what's left to bring some, if there's some resolution to the conflict. You don't really need to have faux window of tolerance, safety strategies to deal with what is happening inside. It could be more about like, let the truth bring about your freedom. So, all right. Well, thank you all so very much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.